Where are you sitting physically? Where do you do business? Tell us where you're at first off.
Okay, I reside in Bella Vista, Arkansas. I moved from Minnesota, which was my home state. And we had actually lived in Arkansas previously, but moved back. Now we're back again. And so we are about 9 miles from downtown Bentonville, the home of Walmart.
Tell us a little bit about your history. Where you're from, how'd you grow up, and what gave you the nerve to get into online anything?
Okay, well, born and raised in Eagan, Minnesota. My dad was is a physicist. He's turning 91 and he's still busy inventing. He's trying to bring a product to market, etc. So 91 years of age. And then my mother is a teacher. So my dad was a professor for some time at University of St. Thomas. So I was raised by educators, and I have this kind of conveniently, I grabbed this right before the call. I started my entrepreneurialism when I was very young. I learned how to make hand knitted bells from my grandma. And so I made these, and there are 3 different colors. And my mom said, Ann, you could go out in the neighborhood and sell those. So she set me up with my store, and it was a white paper box. And it had, she showed me the dollars and the 50 cents and how to change the money. So I was around 7 years old, and these were back in the good old days when kids went off without their parents helicoptering around them all the time. And the coolest thing is when I went out into the neighborhood to sell these bells, is I literally sold all my bells, my first time out. So I'll never forget, literally I can feel it in my hands when I was walking home. I grew up in the suburbs at that time. It made a rustling sound in the box. And that rustling sound was commerce. I was a merchant. As a wee child, and not like that catapulted me right from then, but I will never forget it.
Sound of money. The sound of money.
It was the sound of money is exactly what it was. So it's been quite a path. My husband and I have had a number of businesses. The first one was Dino Kid Growing Chart. He drew this because our youngest he loved dinosaurs. So what do you know? My husband pulls together this beautiful drawing. We actually still have some of them, and sold those through science museums throughout the country. Most prominently, of course, in our hometown of St. Paul, Minnesota. From there, we had a windshield replacement business for 12 years, which my husband really loved because he's a hands-on guy. He had gotten trained up in bookkeeping and whatnot, had a cubicle job and absolutely detested working in a cubicle. So he quit that even after I kind of helped him go through schooling and whatnot. It was like, it wasn't for him. That's okay. That happens in life. And the number one skill we can have in the 21st century is the ability to adapt or die, is what I like to say. But nonetheless, so we had that for 12 years. I also homeschooled my kids for 12 years and was extremely entrepreneurial focused. It's really Robert Kiyosaki's books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, that really sparked more of my entrepreneurialism, even though we already had it. We're just like, breathe it, my husband and I. But I started to see it through a different lens because of Cash Flow Quadrant, going from the E to the S into the B, true B.
Makes you think, right? Makes you think.
Makes you think.
What am I doing? Because if you don't understand like the E quadrant, then you end up as an entrepreneur just getting a glorified job that's even worse than a job, because if it ever fails, your name's on the bottom line.
That's right. Yep, you're just a glorified S, as he calls, pretty much a solopreneur. You just bought a job. So we had the windshield business, and then a law in the state of Minnesota rolled out. It was an advertising law, and it pretty much wiped out all the small mom and pop business owners. And that had to do with advertising. So that's what I learned is things rarely stay stable, okay? They just don't, especially online, they don't. But anyways, all to say, we had that, and that was really, really fantastic business while we had it. The